If your loved one seems tired every morning, slower than usual, or just not quite themselves, this video is for you. Because even when an MRI looks normal, the brain can already be changing. Today, you'll discover the early signs of memory loss in elderly that most families ignore until it's too late. You'll learn how fatigue, confusion, and subtle shifts in behavior may point to early Alzheimer's, cognitive decline, or hippocampus damage. Long before any doctor gives it a name, we'll walk through what MRIs really reveal, how diet and inflammation quietly affect brain health after 60, and what questions every family should ask now to protect someone they love. This isn't fear, it's clarity. And by the end, you'll know exactly what to look for, what to change, and what to do if your parent or spouse seems just tired, but forgetful. When just tired is a warning sign. She always said it was just age catching up with her. Maria would wake up slow, need extra time to think, and by afternoon, a strange fog settled over her thoughts. What looked like simple fatigue could actually be one of the earliest signs of memory loss in elderly. Especially when it repeats day after day, that tired but forgetful feeling isn't always harmless. It may be an early whisper of cognitive decline or even how Alzheimer starts, long before anyone uses that word out loud. Most families miss this phase. They blame stress, poor sleep, or even low iron. But if your loved one is constantly not herself in the mornings, moving slower, forgetting small things, and struggling to stay focused, it might be something deeper. Many early Alzheimer's cases begin with what doctors call mental slowdown without cause. No fevers, no pain, just a quiet erosion of clarity, one breakfast at a time. And that's why this isn't about panic. It's about awareness. Brain fog, elderly confusion, and morning fatigue are often brushed off until a real problem appears. But by then, the damage may already be sitting silently in the hippocampus. So how can you tell the difference between normal aging and something more serious? That's where we go next. The brain's energy crisis after 60. After 60, the brain doesn't just slow down, it runs low on fuel. What Maria felt each morning wasn't laziness. It was an internal shortage, a drop in cerebral blood flow known as hypoperfusion. And guess what part suffers most? The hippocampus, the brain's memory hub. When energy delivery drops, so does clarity, turning mental decline after 60 into more than just a theory. It becomes a quiet, lived reality. This is why some seniors feel like their thoughts get stuck. Like their brain wants to move, but the gears won't turn. It's not lack of intelligence. It's lack of energy reaching the areas responsible for memory retention and focus. This is exactly how early Alzheimer's starts. Not with big dramatic symptoms, but with subtle hesitations, forgotten names, and a slow mental fade hidden behind polite smiles. And while no MRI or blood test can measure what Maria feels as she struggles to recall a familiar recipe, her brain might already be changing beneath the surface. Brain health after 60 isn't just about doing crosswords. It's about restoring energy flow, preventing hippocampus damage, and catching what most families miss. But can modern scans actually catch this in time? That's what we'll uncover next. What MRI scans reveal before symptoms explode. By the time memory loss becomes obvious, the damage is often well underway. But here's the shocker. MRI and dementia specialists can detect changes long before a single symptom shows up. Shrinking of the hippocampus, microvascular damage, subtle patterns that scream early Alzheimer's to trained eyes, while the patient still remembers birthdays and walks the dog. Maria's MRI might look normal to most, but to a neurologist, it might tell a very different story. It's like checking a car's engine light before it blinks. The signs are there, just quiet. Some scans reveal reduced brain volume or signs of atrophy that match the exact areas tied to senior memory decline. And when combined with symptoms like elderly confusion, fatigue, or cognitive issues, it paints a picture most families never see coming. Not because they ignored the signs, but because no one ever explained what to look for. And this is where the game changes, because technology can show us what memory can't. Before confusion becomes daily. Before brain fog settles like morning mist. Before names are lost and routines crumble. But what if part of the problem isn't just inside the brain, but also on the plate? Let's talk about that next. Tired or triggered. The role of inflammation and diet. Not all tiredness comes from aging. Sometimes it's triggered from the inside out. When Maria eats that sweet muffin at breakfast or skips a real lunch, something invisible begins. Inflammation. Tiny reactions in the brain that disturb clarity, cause brain fog, and slowly damage neurons. And the worst part? Many healthy senior foods are loaded with hidden sugars, seed oils, or additives that quietly sabotage brain health after 60. It's like setting a fire in the living room and wondering why it's getting harder to breathe. Inflammatory foods ignite the same chaos inside the brain, especially in seniors already vulnerable to aging brain symptoms. Nutrient deficiencies, like low B12, magnesium, or omega-3s, create the perfect storm for memory loss in elderly. What seems like a harmless snack might actually be lighting the fuse behind early Alzheimer's. The good news? This is fixable. A few swaps, bone broth instead of processed soup, berries instead of packaged cookies, can calm the storm. But families often miss this link, chasing pills while the real trigger is on the plate. So how do you know when fatigue is just food, and when it's something deeper? There's a way to find out, with 3 powerful questions every loved one should ask. Let's go there now. The 3 questions every family should ask now. Sometimes, the difference between a tired day and the start of cognitive decline is just 3 questions away. First, is this tiredness new, or is it becoming a pattern? If Maria used to walk every morning and now struggles just to get dressed, that's not just aging. It could be senior memory decline. Second, is she just forgetting small things, or is she changing her behavior? Confusing keys with the remote is one thing. Getting lost on the way to church? That's different. Third, and perhaps most telling, has she stopped doing things she used to enjoy? Early Alzheimer's doesn't always look like forgetting. It can show up as withdrawal, silence, or hesitation. When the hippocampus suffers damage, the signals don't just fade, they reroute. What once brought joy now brings confusion, or worse, anxiety. And many families, out of love, brush these off as just a phase. But clarity begins with courage. Asking these questions might feel uncomfortable, but they open the door to action. MRI and dementia evaluations, dietary changes, or simply more attentive observation. Because when someone seems tired but forgetful, that's not a moment to dismiss. That's a moment to lean in. And now that we've explored all 5 layers, let's rewind to the moment it all began, with a scan that looked normal, but wasn't. She stood by the bedroom window this morning, coffee in hand, gaze distant. The sun was rising, but her thoughts weren't. Names danced just out of reach. Familiar routines felt strange. That's how memory loss in elderly begins. Not with a bang, but with moments like this. Quiet pauses. A tired look. A gentle drift away from herself. And now I ask you, who in your life is starting to pause like that? Who do you know that says, "I'm just tired" too often, yet can't explain why they're forgetting small things? This isn't about panic. It's about protection. Because behind that brain fog or elderly confusion may be the first signs of something far more serious and far more preventable than most people think. So don't walk away from this video. Walk into the next step. Share this with someone who needs it. Subscribe for answers, not noise. For guidance, not fear. Because knowing what to look for could be the reason someone remembers who you are tomorrow.